a lot of men about success, and they're like, oh, you got to hustle, you got to do. They have a full-on wife at home. My first few episodes were recorded months ago, and I need to come clean about some things. And glory to God, the heavens parted, the angels sang. I was like, okay, this is it. Greetings from what used to be my dining room. I'm shoved in here with some boxes, a piano, a trombone, all my books, and a stroller that you can't see. Soups profesh, it's your girl, Kelsey Humphreys, comedian, rom-com author, and now back to being a podcaster. If this is your first time watching or listening, first of all, if you're watching episode 5, we've gone off the rails. The cute hair is gone. I'm wearing a sweatshirt I pulled out of the bottom of my closet, which, side note, I have noticed we're not ironing anymore. Is that right? Just like as a society, somebody came out, made a formal announcement.
I am Iron Man.
As a country, we're no longer ironing. This is what I picked up on at church. I had an iPad. Now I'm back to good old pen and paper, and just realized the plants in here are dead. So maybe listen to the podcast instead of watch, if I'm being honest. What was I even saying? If this is your first time watching or listening, I'm so glad you're here because we're going to talk about something really important today. It's not what we had scheduled. My first few episodes were recorded months ago, and I need to come clean about some things. My trailer video came out talking about the success of my books, and then I've talked about homeschooling and my email newsletter, and I'm on Instagram all the time, and now I'm back on YouTube, and I'm doing a podcast, and over again, people are like, I don't know how you do it all. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. A Happy Tears podcast is a comedy show. It's uplifting, it's inspiring, it's encouraging. So for episode 5, let's dive right into Debilitating, Overwhelm. So this week we were supposed to talk about, do you have one calling in life? And we will talk about that next week. But the first few episodes of the show, months and months and months ago, I was like, I'm bringing the show back. I'm getting back on YouTube. And I recorded a bunch of episodes. And then all my friends were like, why would you add a podcast to your plate, you dum-dum? My husband, best friend, close friends and family were like, that's a stupid idea. And honestly, they were right. Months later, I'm like, no, screw you guys. I'm doing it. We're doing it live.
Okay. We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live.
I recorded a few episodes and I knew I needed to get ahead. The only way I could stay on top of doing a podcast is if I batched a bunch of videos at a time and got ahead of schedule, which I did. And so all of those episodes that came out were from months ago. And so I need to clarify a few things because people are like, oh my gosh, how are you doing it all? And I am not. And the first part of that is we are no longer homeschooling. Hallelujah. Glory to God, we're no longer homeschooling. Hallelujah. Oh man, we homeschooled for a year and it was horrific. Now, stop typing because I know homeschooling moms are already in the comments and you're already mad, and I want to go on the record and say I actually do believe that for most children, homeschooling is what's best. Do I need to repeat myself so that you guys do not send me hate mail? I do think if you look at the stats of what is happening to kids today, they're more stressed out than ever. They are, they're getting less sunlight. They're not getting enough sleep. Like all across the board, for many children, the best thing is to be home with their families and have one-on-one teaching. And I think, being able to go at your own pace is something that's really important. Getting a ton of time outside, getting to sleep in and get a lot more rest, getting to follow your interests. Like I think kids need to be, doing all of this, like learning how to learn, learning how to love learning. And I think they should be learning that from someone other than me. Okay. Like just because I do believe that homeschooling is probably best for most kids, that doesn't mean it's best for all families. When I was really in the depths of it, struggling, and I mean like our kids were crying every day. I want to say we came from kids who had already done traditional school. And lots of homeschooling veterans will say that is much harder to do. If you're considering homeschooling, do it right off the bat, girl. Sister, listen to me. Do it right off the bat. Do it as soon and as early as you can. But that was not our situation. We had multiple kids who had already done traditional school. And so every day there was weeping and gnashing of teeth. The homeschooling for a year was what we needed to do emotionally. It was great for our family to bond. 4 of our kids are adopted. They had only been with us a year. And so the second year we decided, no, we're coming home. And all 8 of us, 6 kids, my husband and I, we were all home all day, all the time. It was good for our emotional connection. It was good for their little systems to get a lot more rest and to have much more like calm, just what they needed to heal and what we all needed for bonding, but not for learning. We found a tiny private school that could take all 5 of our kids, which I felt like was the answer to the prayer. Like we were just crying out, like, what are we supposed to do? Because I knew we couldn't go back to the giant public school district that we live in because the class sizes, like we just have kids with some needs that were not going to be met in that situation. I looked at hybrid schools. I looked at co-ops. I looked at all these different things. And then we found this tiny private school that could take all 5 school age kids starting in August. Again, glory to God. The heavens parted, the angels sang. I was like, okay, this is it. The kids love it so far. Now, I just talked about adjusting to change. And if you followed our adoption journey, when I was sort of like live chronicling on Instagram, with life change at our house just comes so many bodily functions. Yesterday, I was covered in both vomit and diarrhea. All I needed was some urine to complete the trifecta. We are going through, I think I'm sick right now. Actually, I feel terrible. I'm pretty sure that a virus is coming on to the whole family, but we're not homeschooling. It was something that we needed to do. And I'm not saying we won't ever do it again. There are some amazing things I learned. Maybe I need to have a separate episode on all the things that it taught me, ways it opened my eyes that would not have happened if we had not homeschooled. So I am not pooping on it. But when I looked online about learning about homeschooling and looking like, maybe we shouldn't do this. This is really hard with this many ages. This is really hard with this many kids who went to traditional school. I could find maybe 2 YouTube videos about quitting homeschooling and like 2 million about like homeschooling is the way. Homeschooling is the best. If you don't homeschool, you don't love your kids and you're not teaching them the Bible and you're not. And when I posted about how hard homeschooling was online on Instagram, only one person was like, hey, I want you to know we quit. And it was fine. And it was better for us. So I'm putting this out there for someone who is drowning and needs to hear that not every family needs to homeschool. It is not what's best for everyone. Some kids are going to have needs that you cannot meet as their mom and teacher and teacher of every single subject, by the way. So with that, with like my podcast coming back and me, ramping up more content online and you seeing me more, well, that's because we're no longer homeschooling. So I now have some time that has opened up. What's funny is the past couple videos kind of made it seem like, oh, I have it so together and I'm so patient and I'm doing all these things. And I feel like my husband's off camera like, you're what now? You're what now? What I said, for the record, was that I'm more patient now than I used to be, which is still the truth. And that is, I stand by what I said. But homeschooling made me a rage monster. I need to put that out on the internet for somebody who needs to feel seen and understood that it is not for every family. It is not for every single child. It is not for every mom. It is not for every Christian mom. Because there's some Christian circles where like homeschooling is the only way. I'm sorry, are you saying God doesn't have your kids covered wherever they go? Are you saying God is not sovereign and he can't guide them in the way that they should go in whatever school he sends them to? Hello, get out your hankies. Ain't that the truth? I am going to preach in this episode. I have a lot of important things to say. With the change of changing to school, aside from, being sick, there is definitely 100%, like I talked about, unavoidable grief in episode 3 or 4. I had major PTSD when the emails started. Because why? For the love of all things, can't all teachers communicate the same way? I've got 5 kids in school and 5 different, one has a dojo. I don't know what that is. One has a group me. I know what group me is, but I don't know how to use it. One has a Facebook group. The other 2 have emails. I think it's just like normal emails, but the emails aren't sent on the same day. Everybody's take-home folder is on a different day, and everybody's teacher email is on a different day. And oh, dear Lord, it's overwhelming. It really is. I have multiple planners. I've made my own planner. Then I have a big whiteboard in the office that has everything on it. And like the second I get an email from a teacher, I stop everything, read the email, and put every single thing in our calendar immediately. That is the only way that I can function. I miss the slow mornings of homeschool. I miss how calm everything was. I do spend time in the car line now. We just need a little music. My
Shake brings all the boys to the bar. My wife.
There are things that we give up. But one of the big things I need to come clean about before I talk about it, I do want to remind you that if you're enjoying the show, I need you to tell people. If you're listening, take a screenshot of the podcast app, text it to a couple friends. Also, if you enjoy my funny show, you will enjoy my funny books. The Happy Tears podcast is brought to you by my books. If you're not sure where to start, you're going to start with this book. Things I should have said. It's funny. It's lighthearted. It's perfect for your vacation, fall break, winter break. If you get sick and you're like, I just need something encouraging, funny to read, you can go get the ebook for less than $5. And this is the start of the series. So this is where you should start. And yes, it is loosely based on me and my husband. She's an artist. He's a software developer. Now, in my trailer video, I said that I had built a 6-figure business. But I need to tell you, we're not making 6 figures right now. Slowed way down when the kids moved in, and then slowed down even more when I got pregnant and then when I had the baby. This year is a building year. I'm putting out audiobooks, which cost thousands of dollars each audiobook to produce. And I hired someone to help me specifically with email management and TikToks and helping me to be more places and to help me scale because I can't do all the social media all the time all myself. This is not a banner year for us for revenue. Unfortunately, books are one of those things where I have to sit and make the product, which a lot of entrepreneurs will be like, you're trading your time for money, and that's not a good business model. That voice will come back in a moment. But I make the book one time and then it sells forever. I mean, people, it's an evergreen product, if you will. And so while it is hard to scale a business where I have to physically sit down and write the books myself, it is a model where, people will find one of my books and binge every book I've ever written on Kindle Unlimited. You'll see a lot of authors have tons of books in Kindle Unlimited because people find them and then read them all. And so you're making way more money off of just one book that if you send people to book one, you're making way more money. So that is something nobody asked for, and I'm getting off topic. But I wanted to come clean about that because, again, my trailer video and all this stuff made it look like, oh my gosh, Kelsey is crushing it in all of the areas. Well, I wasn't. And the only way that I was able to function, the only way I was able to write books at all or to homeschool is because we had a nanny. And I've been vocal about this on Instagram from the start. I've talked about it in my emails, and she was an absolute godsend, and I have hangups about it. I absolutely have hangups about it. Okay, so there's this woman on Instagram, and she really pisses me off. And I'm sure you've seen her because she runs a lot of ads. She has 5 kids, I think, and all of her stuff like, this is how I am doing it all. They always say you can't do it all. You can't have it all at once, and I wanted to prove them wrong. And so I get up at 4:15 and I do all my work before my kids wake up, and then I homeschool them, and then she's got like B-roll of her doing laundry, and I just think she's a big fat liar. What? There's no way, unless her business runs on autopilot, which I did a little bit of digging, but like, honestly, Kelsey, that's not a good use of your time. So I made myself stop. And also in the comments, people who have followed her a long time said, well, listen, her husband helps a lot and her family helps her a lot. But like, if nothing else, she has this huge, beautiful home. If nothing else, she has a house cleaner to help her, who comes and cleans. Like, it just made me so mad. And I think that this is why we all kind of got burnt out on personal growth. People who have been around with me for a long time with my first YouTube channel. And I'm asking all these successful people, a lot of men, about success. And they're like, oh, you got to hustle. You got to do. They have a full-on wife at home. Can you imagine mama listening to this, trying to do maybe a part-time job or, a side hustle, or you're a working mom, or you're an entrepreneur and a mom? Could you imagine how productive you would be if you had a full-on wife? I don't want to hear from men anymore in the success space. If they're married and they're a dad, I was like so burnt out on it. And I think a lot of other people were too. And I myself, I'm sitting here talking to you about how I had a nanny, and I have serious hangups about this because I am, obviously we've talked about it in past episodes, like I have to perform and produce in order to be valued, and in order to be loved, I need to be important, and I need to prove my worth and achieve. So I always want to follow it up with like, oh, I'm really hardworking, and it doesn't negate the hard work. But like, at the end of the day, sometimes I want to be like, can we say the quiet part out loud, which is that to be successful, you have to be privileged and wealthy, right? Where is the lie? Because for me and my husband, again, I always want to say like, we're the most hardworking people you'll meet, where we will work our faces off. But we started with no college debt because our parents prioritize getting us off on the right foot. We started with no car payments. Like we had all these things that we had support around us. We were set up for success. And so I know that people probably saw some of my stuff in my first few episodes and just rolled their eyes so hard. And I so get it. And that's why I was like, you know what? I need to pause our regularly scheduled programming to talk about this. I know it is like taboo still in 2025 to have a nanny. I get it. I was like, we're not going to be those people. Well, guess what? Let me think of a way to explain this. Like in Sims games, okay? If someone needs something, the little character would have like a red alert or like a Tamagotchi where it's like, beep, beep, I need something. Well, when we had our baby number 6, we had only had our adopted kids for 7 months. Only 7 months of like learning each other. I mean, the whole first few months of those, we were just sick. And then, it was just like trying to learn their personalities and them trying to learn how our house worked and who the heck we were. They didn't even know us. I mean, 7 months is nothing. And so I just will never forget. I was trying to nurse the baby and that was not going well. He was like 2 weeks old. And I gave up, that session and I walked out from my bedroom out into the living area. And it was like those little Tamagotchis. It was 5 little people with bright red flashing alerts. That was just like, I need you. I need my mom. I need my mom. I need my mom. And the baby needed me. Everybody needed so much from me. Like when I say debilitating overwhelm, like I could barely breathe. I could see how much they needed me. So if you can barely breathe, get help. Get help from your mom. Get help from your aunt. Hire help. It is okay to hire help. I never wanted to be those people. And guess what? The nursing didn't work out. And we had to switch to formula. And that's one of the things I wanted to make sure I said in this episode. If you are arguing one side, maybe even to support someone, maybe you're arguing like, hey girl, stick with homeschooling. Don't quit. Hey girl, stick with breastfeeding. Don't quit. Like I had so many people just like bombarding me with like, if you switch to formula, he'll be sick and stupid. You'll have ruined his life. And then guess what? I had to switch to formula. And like I had those things in my brain on repeat. Same thing with homeschooling. It was just like pounded into me why homeschooling is the only way. Well, guess what? We couldn't do it. So if you are arguing your side, even lovingly, realize that that person might switch sides. Find a way to state your case that is not so extreme that then, like when we switched to formula, I legit felt like an outsider in all my communities, with everyone, all of our family. Mom, I know you're listening. I still felt like my mom kind of threw some shade about it when she gave me formula. Like it's so weird. The grandparent dynamic is a whole separate conversation. I need you to know that if you're really arguing one side, that person might switch sides, and you really want to be careful what you say. And this comes from a loving place a lot of times, but people are just so passionate about their way of doing things and they want to encourage and they want to convince you, they want to get you on their side. Well, that might not work out. And I was so worried about the kids. And then I was so twisted up in knots because we weren't breastfeeding. And I was like, he's not going to bond with me because I'm not nursing and we have a nanny who's helping. And guess what? That boy is obsessed.
Why you so obsessed with me? Boy, I wanna know.
He's obsessed. The bond is fine. Mama who cannot nurse, you'll be fine. Is it the most healthy, idyllic, whatever? Maybe not. Right? Or maybe it is. I mean, for me, it was very convenient because we needed the help and not anyone could make him a bottle. Didn't have to be me. It was very freeing. And it was what I needed to go out and be the best mom that I could for the other kids who were just as needy almost as the newborn. I really wanted to talk about how okay it is to need help as a mom. And if you're a working mom, an entrepreneur mom, a side hustle mom, if you are in the thick of it with really young kids, like there's no way I could have homeschooled either. So not only could I not have bonded with the new kids, but there's no way I could have homeschooled without Isabelle. And Isabelle, if you're listening, it was another God thing that we found the private school, and then in between here in the private school, on the way, we found a little daycare, which happened to time out at the exact time where Isabelle had to move away. And when she moved away, I told her, like, these are happy tears, guys. But the expression, you're a lifesaver, like I know that's an expression, but when she left, I looked her in the eye and I had to say, that is not an expression. Like, you saved us. We could not have done it without you. And does that make me less of a mom? I don't think so. Because I would have probably gotten sick because I was pushing myself so hard. Whenever I would try and do it all, I just became a rage monster. And I think we've talked a lot online. The conversations come a long way, like talking about dealing with rage and dealing with overwhelm and all this stuff. But are we talking about the crux of it is we're doing too much. We cannot do it all. And that lady on Instagram makes me mad. She's selling a bill of goods to these young moms. She has millions of followers. And I just be like, oh my gosh, I wonder, I hope that they see her and don't just feel like a big steaming pile of garbage. I feel like my people, the people watching this, the people listening, like we are kind of what I call crockpot dreamers. Like we've got some big plans and big dreams, but they have to marinate right now because we're raising our kids. Or maybe you don't have kids and you just like my vibe. Hey, what's up? Appreciate you. And maybe you're stuck where you can't go out and do your dream because you've got to pay off student debt or you've got, commitments. Maybe you're taking care of a loved one. Whatever season of life you're in, you can't go after the dream. You can't go after the goal right now. Or maybe you can only do it as a side hustle and you're just like trying to build and trying to grow. And so I wanted to come on and say, I'm doing some of this stuff now, but only because our circumstances changed. Another thing I flip-flop on, another thing I flip-flopped on, I changed my mind, is about interviews. 4 episodes in, and I'm like, I want to do interviews. And my best friend again was like, that's stupid. Are you sure you want to add that onto everything you've got going on? But I think the premise of Happy Tears and the kinds of questions I have in my head to ask would be so super interesting. I want to get like a really successful, super interesting person, then be like, when's the last time you cried in the shower? And what was it about? When was the last time you felt overwhelming grief in the midst of getting everything that you prayed for? Because these are the things I think level the playing field. Like we're all human beings. We're all the same. We're all going through this same, experience of being a human, which is really difficult. And I want to ask them those questions. So if you're watching this and you're like, yes, girl, bring back the interviews. I would like to know who you think is really interesting. Not necessarily a big celebrity, but someone you find really compelling. Like, oh, Kelsey would ask her or him some good questions. I will say I'm not going to go begging. And it doesn't necessarily have to be celebrities. I think last time, I just really wanted to grow the show. And if they had a big following or they were a big name or they were really well connected, then I just did the interview. And I'm not doing that anymore. Like I want to sit down with someone who I think is really interesting or really inspiring, whether they're a celebrity or not. I just want to sit and talk about like being a human and ask funny questions. I want to get someone massively successful and then be like, what'd you eat for breakfast? Like, did you make it the night before? Did you have a chef who made it for you? Like things that open up a little glimpse into their actual life, into their real day-to-day life and what they're really going through, struggling with, thinking about. Again, episode 5, the train has not only left the station, we are now fully off the tracks. We are just careening down way off plan of when I started recording these episodes months ago. And I hope that you guys find that fun. I didn't have set lessons in this episode, which bothers me because I like having the format of like 3 lessons per episode. But I guess to recap, I just want you to know that it is okay to reach out for help, even if there's like a stigma around it, even if your family, kind of makes side comments or gives you the side eye or your friends are kind of like teasing you about it or whatever. Like I could not have survived. That is the truth. And so you need to be more than surviving, but first you need to survive if you're in a hard season. Second, you need to be more than surviving. You cannot be the mom you're meant to be, the wife you're meant to be, the friend and family member you are meant to be if you are just surviving. Get the help that you need. Be careful on giving advice. With all of those changes, bringing back the show, I think I'm going to add interviews. And are you ready for this? Are you sitting down? Despite what my sweatshirt says, I'm leaving my house and I'm going on a mini book tour. What? Yes. I have made the arrangements with the support of family and babysitters and daycare and school and all the things to go to a few book stops that I'm going to test out doing some stand-up comedy and then doing a book signing, doing some Q&A. In some of the spots, I'm partnering up with other authors, so we'll kind of tag team together. In the New York stop, it's actually a stand-up comedy night that they have. It's like a rom-comedy night that they have every month, and so I'll be up there with other comedians, but then I'll be like the featured headliner, and then it'll be my books for the signing portion at the end. Also want to tell you, I have a special edition for this book with illustrations, which I saw this funny thing on Instagram. This woman bought a special edition illustrated rom-com novel for women, for adults. And she was like, why are there pictures in here? This is not a child's book. But this is a trend. This is a thing romance authors are doing, is to have these gorgeous custom illustrations throughout the book. Only while the tour is happening can you get the special edition hardcover illustrated version of Happy Christmas. The early reviews for this book are phenomenal. People keep calling it a novella. It's not. It's over 90,000 words. A novella is 40,000 words. People keep calling it that though, because it's so easy to read. They're flying through it in one day. And that is my goal. I want to write something that's like unputdownable. I want you to kick your feet. I want you to snort, laugh, and I want you to tear up. And Happy Christmas is achieving all of those goals. And if you want to get the special edition, you've got to get it while the tour is happening. So the last tour stop is November 20th. If you want a signed edition of the hardcover of Happy Christmas, you got to come out to a tour stop. It is going to be so fun. It is going to be a test. So I'm going to vlog a little bit of that experience of like, how much work is it for me to leave my house? Hint, a lot. How hard is it on my husband? I actually had way more tour dates planned. And then I felt like the Lord was like, you're not thinking this through. So I pulled back and I canceled about half of the tour. And I decided I'm just going to do 5 or 6. A couple of them are local, or there's 3 of them where I don't have to fly. I can drive. So very minimal, like me leaving the house to go and test this. But this is the goal long term, is for me to be able to go do a book signing and stand-up comedy, everywhere. When the kids are older. And again, the only way we're going to get there is if I can get to about like 500,000 subscribers. So I need you to send my show to your friends, because you're going to comment and be like, come to Omaha. Well, I can't go to Omaha because you're the only one there. You got to tell all your friends in Omaha so that I can go to Omaha. Does that make sense? I kind of like saying Omaha, so I'm just saying it over and over and over again. Next episode, we will talk about, do you only have one calling and are you doing it? Because I got a message from a friend and she was like, hey, I read your book and I think that writing is truly your calling, and I died inside. I hated that message because I don't think it's my calling. So we're going to talk about that next week. But I hope this encouraged you and inspired you, or at least you kind of yelled like, yes, finally someone said it, about having a full-on wife at home if you're like a bro influencer or a multimillionaire dude on the internet. That's it for this episode. So I hope if you are watching on YouTube, you will hit subscribe. If you're listening on iTunes, I hope you will hit follow. I hope you will tell your friends. And remember, if you see me in the car line holding up multiple calendars, highlighters, chomping my gum, talking on the phone, trying to get it all figured out, looks like I'm weeping, those are happy tears.